Great. Thanks everyone for coming today, for your patience. Everyone probably needs a glass of water, a cup of coffee, and a bio break at this point in time. So I'll try to keep this active and as rapid and educational as possible. My name's Roberti. I'm from Cognigy, and if I were to say the short version of my presentation today, so you can go get your coffee, is this, which is find anywhere in your organization where you're paying people to have conversations and automate them. And it's a provocation that's there. You can ask, why are we even here? We're here face to face. Do we really need to be, or could we automate all of this? Well, not every conversation can be automated, but this insight came from a customer of ours who provides a kind of large-scale service to small businesses, put it that way. And they were spending $3 million on an online ad campaign that was going to last for a month. And you can imagine that they're driving people to a common landing page, website.com/special offer, something like that. And they knew that when people got to that landing page, some people would be able to figure out what they needed to fill out and would just submit their information. But they also knew a lot of people would have questions. Well, their challenge was suddenly they were expecting a massive influx of traffic to their website for 1 month, but how would they going to suddenly scale their contact center to answer all of these questions without hiring a ton of new agents and training everybody that they wouldn't need a month from now? And the insight there, kind of where the wheels started turning in our customer's head, was to think, we need to be able to automate as much of this customer service experience as possible so we could scale up and then scale back down. The next time the Super Bowl comes around, scale up again and scale back down. It's a major problem if you don't have automation in place. Now, the other short version of the conversation is, what's good about this? So there's the scaling question. How do we scale up and scale down? How do we save costs? But first off, think about it from the customer side of the spectrum. If you look at the left there, one is customers have 24/7 availability of customer support if you can automate the dialogues that they're having with your business. And I go back to an experience I had with a company that actually has amazing customer service, Travelers Insurance. I called in to ask a question about my automobile policy. Well, during the workday, I have no time to call and ask a question about my umbrella insurance. So I called in on a Saturday, and I got a recording that said, hey, here are business hours. Call back when we're open. And naturally, not every business is going to be available 24/7, but as a customer, I had a little bit of shock, like, what, wait? I can't talk to someone right now to help me answer this problem? And so customers really want to be able to solve problems when they want, whether that's at the soccer game, whether it's waiting in line at the grocery store, whether it's on a Friday night when they finally have time to get around to dealing with their AT&T bill. Whenever they want the service, they want it there. They don't want to wait on hold. They want to choose how and when. So the benefit of conversational automation to customers is just a better service experience overall. Now for businesses, the benefit is obvious. We've been doing a lot of automation in the digital transformation space for years now. We want to be able to reduce cost and reduce hiring pressure, especially now. Contact centers feel hiring pressure probably worse than many other industries, maybe restaurants or another comparable industry, where demand is very high, demand is more unpredictable than ever, and hiring pressures are really strong. We have lots of customers who have told us in 2020 we had to let go a significant portion of our staff in the contact center, and now that they're coming back, they want 20 to 25% premiums and compensation. Maybe they deserve it, but it still creates a challenge for business of how to do all of the hiring and training and deal with churn and keep the business running. And finally, provide better service at scale. How do you bring consistency and scalability as demand surges and recedes? that's the short version. But we're going to dive into this a little bit more. My name's Derek Roberti. You will feel free to meet me and we can talk at the round table. I'm from a company called Cognigy, which you ably pronounced. Very few people can do that the first time. But the first question I want to ask, and it can just be hand raises, but how many people yourself or in your organizations or companies you consult with are doing any kind of voice bots or chat bots for your contact center or elsewhere internal? Great. I'll be interested to hear about your experience because this is one of my favorite comments about the space. I don't know Tom Petrocelli, and it's from a long time ago, but I thought his insight was great, which was chatbots yield the same results as any search engine, but with more effort. So how many people have had an experience going to a website or calling in, you're interacting with a chatbot, and just felt like the chatbot was not helpful? Exactly, lots of hands. When was it helpful? Exactly, and then the crickets come out. It's an important observation because there's two separate problems here, the way I see it. One is, are you trying to make it easier for people to find information or knowledge? Or are you trying to automate a business process through a conversational user interface? And these can be related problems, but they can also be quite separate problems with different kinds of solutions and value. So I want to dive into this a little bit because Cognigy's mission, and I don't want to talk too much about our company, but the vision of the company is customer and employee service that's loved by everyone. And what has happened to us, and the reason why we had so many hand raises, is when chatbots and voice bots were first deployed, they were not done with end users in mind. They were really done with the idea of often projects led by IT, where they were trying to think, how can we surface search results faster? And this did not create a great user experience. If you think about websites, if today, probably no marketer in their right mind would say, hey, I want to just go to a thing, click a button and have it create a website for our company. And one would kind of solve a problem that's about fundamental customer communication and advocacy through a purely automated solution. You need to really think about your users in mind so that way your automated user experience becomes a differentiator for you. It's better thought out, it conveys your brand, and it truly helps customers get a problem solved. One real-life example I'll give from a customer. It's an airline customer. That's not the one you'll see on the slide, but a different one. And they were sharing with me some of their live chat transcripts as well as their automated chat transcripts. And they shared one transcript where the first thing someone said is, you just canceled my flight, and now you're making me talk to a chatbot. And it really kind of surfaced the idea that people feel like chatbots are there to stop you from talking to a human, to do anything possible to avoid incurring the cost of human contact. It's a terrible customer experience. It conveys probably the wrong message about your business and your contact center's attitude towards interacting with customers. So summarizing this a bit is, what do customers want? They want instant service, they want it personalized, and they want it in the channel of their choice. They want to communicate however they want, whenever they want. And when I was flying over here, short trip to Portland for me, I just went on Twitter to get some examples of a customer service channel that is not typically in the wheelhouse of the contact center. So these are just a few Twitter snapshots from my phone of some customer service incidents from United and American. People are going on Twitter and saying, essentially often, thanks for the terrible service. You know, my bags were lost, my flight was delayed, we're sitting on the tarmac, nothing has happened. It's too small for you to see here, but here's a response that says, hey, we're sorry to hear about the wait chase. Rest assured, our team are working as quickly as possible to get everyone on their way in a timely manner. And it gives you the option to direct message them in Twitter if you have more that you want to elaborate on. There's also a positive that says, I need to give props to the American Air staff at Reagan Airport for their customer service regarding flight issues. So people are saying good things, people are saying bad things, but then the response there is, what a great shout out to our DCA team. DM your 6-letter record locator, and we'll share your information with them. So it's neat that we can communicate in such a broadcast way with companies through Twitter or through WhatsApp, or it's better, it is more immediate than just sending an email to whatever their customer service line is. But there's people on the other end of these Twitter feeds at United, at American Airlines, who are having to process these customer service requests. Some of them probably are worth personalizing and having that human touch to, especially in a public forum like Twitter. But some of them would allow you to actually help people take action, not just give people comfort and say DM us, but to actually help them solve their problem in real time, which is ultimately what people want. On the business side, the customer service challenges, I'll just go through this quickly because you probably can't see it, but customers don't like waiting for a long time. They don't like getting to an agent and having to re-explain the issue that they either just explained to another person, or they made their way through your phone tree, they identified themselves, and the first thing that the agent says is that they need to identify you again. And they want to be able to use the channels that they prefer. So here's an imagined automated customer journey. So we start off in the process where I'm trying to find the right product, and maybe I'm interacting with chatbot on a website. And then maybe I order the product and I want to check my order status. And maybe I'm doing that through the website as well, or maybe I'm doing it through Facebook Messenger because I happen to be on Facebook, so I want to just go there and ask my question. Maybe I have a billing issue and I want to clarify that invoice and I want to call in because that feels the most intuitive way for me to handle my invoice. And finally, once I have my product, I might want to go on WhatsApp and say, hey, great job with the product, or ask for some kind of product support. The value of automating these experiences is that we can provide a good user experience quickly to users without carrying the burden of having to hire a human workforce to solve every single conversation that comes in. And I want to go into 6 different scenarios, I would say, or 6 different value points where conversational AI can contribute. We're first going to do a few on the digital side. So in our domain, digital means anything that's not talking. So web chat, live chat, Facebook Messenger, SMS. And then that's a voice side actually first, and then digital messaging is going to be second. So I'll kind of drill through these scenarios quickly to give you some examples. And this will be a little bit of mixing in some case studies as well as some kind of functional description of what you can expect. And before we do that, I want to clarify, we talked a lot today about AI, very compellingly and excitingly. The space that we're in, that Cognigy is in, is often called conversational AI. If you do a Google search, that'll probably give you the most search results. But we refer to ourselves often as conversational automation or contact center automation, because really whether you're solving the problem through AI or through rules-based or through whatever kind of experience you want to create for people, the goal is to optimize an experience for both your customers and for the business. So let's look at a couple of really tactical examples. So this is what we call AI-powered routing and ID&V. So in the contact center space, the 2 big challenges, if you're not part of that world, are first, I call in and I could have a question, about billing, about sales, about, technical support issue, kind of classic distinction. And I need to be able to call in and be routed to the right person. And we're used to this kind of friction-filled example of, if I call in, I have to choose, 1, 2, 3, 4 to be able to be routed to the right person. And sometimes this relies on me mapping my own understanding of the problem to how the business understands the problem. What department solves this problem for me? So I have to hope I'm guessing the right button. And we had one customer who I always pick on, is that when they started off, I like to kind of do some testing of what's there initially, and I called in. Their IVR gave me options 1 through 9. So literally, if you're a customer trying to figure out how to solve your problem, you have to listen to 9 different options. And I always hold on my fingers, what is my best guess is the right button to press. And I tease them and say, if there were 20 buttons on the phone, you would have given me like 20 different options to choose from. It's very user unfriendly. So we want to solve that problem faster for users so we can get them to the right agent. So that's kind of a routing problem. You'll hear in the industry called skills-based routing. So route the person to route the caller to the person with the skills to help them. And then the other thing is identifying and verifying the user. So you get to an agent, they might ask you for your name, they might ask you for another piece of verifying information like the last 4 digits of your social or your phone number, your address, or whatever. These are activities that don't require human judgment, that can be automated, and from a cost perspective, they take up time in the contact center of agents doing a lot of repetitive work. Imagine if you worked in a contact center and 100 times a day, you say, hey, can you spell your last name for me? Can you tell me the last 4 digits of your social security number? It's a lot of repetitive work that doesn't need to be done by humans, and by leveraging a automation system to be able to do this, you can do it faster. So what happens as a user now is I can call in and I can say, hey, I need to add an insured to my liability policy. So I can express their need in natural language. And maybe that's all the AI is doing. It's just saying, we know this problem. We know it's about a liability policy. We know someone needs to add an insured. We know the exact agent to route this person to. Simple piece of the solution, but by doing that, they were able to save 15% of the time that a human agent is interacting with a caller. And 15% savings on a very large contact center is significant and well worth the investment. Another thing is just doing end-to-end transactions. I was talking about the distinction between is conversational AI a search engine or a transactional platform. Really letting people complete end-to-end business processes, calling in, saying what they need to do, completing a transaction in real time, having it done whenever they want it done is a great way to automate a process on behalf of a user. And finally, we have customers doing this for outbound as well. So there's different business scenarios that require outbound calling. So one could be hospitals doing appointment confirmations. Large and small, dentist's office and hospitals have this problem. And literally they have contact centers filled with people who are just calling to confirm appointments. This customer here is an example of a collections agency where they have accounts that they get. They want to contact people through their channel of choice, whether that's SMS or whether that's phone, to be able to initiate that interaction so someone can have a discussion, an automated discussion on how to settle their accounts and make payment. So that's on the voice side. I'll give you a few examples of some benefits on the digital side. So first is this omni-channel service experience. Like I was showing in the example of Twitter, sometimes I might be on the United Airlines app, I might be on the website, or I might be in a social media channel, or I might want to text. So really being there where your users are improves customer satisfaction. Another dimension is folks have talked about using AI to augment humans. In the contact center world, one of the challenges is the training that goes into the human training that goes into hiring people. So you hire people, they can't immediately jump on the phones because they need to learn what is the business problems people call in with. Onboarding people can happen faster when you have what's called agent assist. So that's essentially the conversational AI or automation platform listens in on the conversation, whether a voice or digital conversation, and can push suggestions to the agent. So they aren't seen by the caller or the user, but they're there to facilitate the work of the agent, either so they can just find information and send it faster, or they can coach people on how to respond to the kinds of questions that are coming in. And finally, as common these days in the conversational automation space as these customer-facing scenarios is employee-facing scenarios. So automating any kind of HR and IT support is a very common one. So that could be creating service tickets, asking about policies, requesting time off, any workflow-oriented experience. That can be done through communication channels that we use every day, which for most of us is going to be Teams or Slack. So I want to, jump into our platform a little bit. I don't want to make this a commercial. I want to make it kind of more educational. So I'm going to show you 6 different attributes of a conversational automation platform that you might look for if you or someone in your organization is going out in the market and seeing what's important when we look at this kind of a platform. So here's a big picture. And if I had my laser pointer with you, I'd make more sense of this diagram. So, it's not hooked up to my computer. Oh, but it can still point. Thank you. So at the top here, here's the idea is conversations can start on any voice or chat channel. So one characteristic you look for in a conversational automation platform is how does it plug into the channels that our customers are communicating on. Once it comes in to the conversational platform, it's processed by our natural language understanding engine. So natural language understanding is what takes a free-form user input, something we can't predict, and distills the information from it, both important bits of information they're saying, but also their overall objectives. So if I say, hey, I ordered something online yesterday and now I need to cancel the order. So what we know about that utterance is that it's about an order cancellation, and we know it's about an order that was placed yesterday. And if we know what the channel people are on, so people are calling in from the phone, or maybe they're authenticated on the website, we know who you are. And kind of the natural language understanding engine can pull all of that together, so that way we can automate our response to it. And that automation is happening in what is typically some kind of fulfillment engine. In our platform, it's a low-code flow designer. In some platforms, it's, you do everything by writing code. But the idea of fulfillment is to say, now that we know what the user wants, how do we deliver for them? How do we make their request happen in an automated fashion? And to do that, you need to be able to connect to enterprise systems. And sometimes there's automation on top of automation here. So one of these enterprise systems you might connect to could be an RPA platform. So the idea is you might have a common contact center problem, for example, is, and if you don't know this, this is why things take so long often, is through acquisition, through multiple systems. You had a slide on this yourself. To solve one problem, an agent may have to look at 5 or 6 different applications. They might need to look up your order in the online ordering system. They might have a shipping or an inventory system maybe to check to see if that item is in inventory. They might have a shipping system to see, has this been shipped yet? You can automate all of those manual lookups through a technology like RPA. But the conversational automation piece provides that natural language interface so people can interact with the RPA in a natural way and get those results faster. All right, so 6 quick things that I want to talk about that you want to look for in a conversational platform are here. I'll go through them quickly. First is built for scale. So scale means a lot of different things in this case. So Lufthansa ran into the same problem that most airlines did at the beginning of the pandemic, which is they went from a case where business as usual to, I'll just say the industry as a whole experienced a large decline in revenues quickly. But they also had new kinds of customer service requests, so a lot more cancellations than they ever had to deal with before, a lot of questions and anxieties around what are COVID policies, either on the plane or in the destination they were traveling to. And while in the US, we can travel from state to state with a general sense of comfort. In other parts of the world where you might be going from country to country, you might need to know, can I even enter this country at this state of the pandemic? Or if so, do I need to get tested or what? So to scale for that problem, they needed a solution that could just handle the volumes that they were dealing with, but could let them quickly build and iterate to provide useful chatbots across all of their brands that could answer all these new kinds of questions and could automate actually things like cancellations or rescheduling. Scale for them, I also will quickly mention, also meant being able to deploy in multiple languages and meet their governance requirements. Next is the low-code experience. So we've talked about maybe on the other end of the scale from the quantum computing example is a low-code, no-code interface. And the idea is to be able to build out conversations in a graphical way without having to rely on developers to be able to make any progress through your interactions. Contact center space, traditionally, professional services for everything, traditional IVRs are complex to configure and require specialized teams to do it. We need to be able to provide platforms so people with a diverse range of skill sets can build out complex conversations without having to involve a developer every time they want to make a change. Natural language understanding, we've talked about this already. You need to have a competent NLU that can take that user input, find out exactly what they're trying to do, and get them a solution. Analytics are an interesting domain in conversational AI because analyzing conversations is a challenge. In the contact center space, traditionally, you can get call transcripts, you can apply sentiment analysis to them, you can kind of get some sense of what's going on. Conversational analytics require you to apply all of those to automated interactions. The power of that is that in traditional metrics for any kind of digital interaction, there's website metrics. And what you can do is you can tell where a user went on their website. You might be able to tell if someone's a returning visitor or not. But when people leave their website, called drop off in the marketing world, are they dropping off because they had their problem solved or because they couldn't solve their problem? You don't know. All you know is they left. Whereas with conversational AI, you actually see the interactions that people are having. So you can really find out when are people getting frustrated, when are people getting their problem solved, and then how can you optimize that interaction. But the challenge is if you're getting thousands of calls every day or tens of thousands or million calls every month, you can't read every transcript. So the challenge of analytics in the conversational domain is to be able to let you chunk up, to be able to see in aggregate what are the paths people are taking through your conversations, and then to be able to drill down to those very individual interactions. Two other quick points. One is making sure that your platform is voice enabled, even though we have a bias towards digital channels and think that's what everyone wants. Most customer service is provided by the phone and email still today as kind of the preferred channels. And lastly, platforms need to be extensible. So even though we champion the low-code, no-code experience, your platform still needs to be able to integrate with systems that you've built in-house that no platform developer could know exist. So you're really having a first-class role for your developers who can build out new capabilities within a platform, as well as a first-class role for those non-technical users is critical. So with that, I'll leave it. Thank you.